In learning a new language, haste can be a trap. Stories, told with calm and clarity, offer a safer and more effective path to fluency. Today's narrative is about the wisdom of slowing down to go faster, and it is also an opportunity for you to improve your English in a deliberate and attentive way. Our culture is obsessed with hacks, shortcuts, and instant gratification. We are taught that the smartest way to do something is always the fastest way. But what if, in our hurry to reach the destination, we are taking shortcuts that actually slow us down, make us fall, or worse, lead us to the wrong place? This is the story of Marvin, a brilliant young lawyer who believed that speed was his greatest virtue, and of the lesson he learned the hard way about the counterintuitive power of the longer path, a principle that would change his career forever. In the high-octane world of a Manhattan law firm, Marvin was a sprinter, brilliant and full of energy. He saw his career not as a marathon, but as a series of sprints. He was obsessed with outperforming his colleagues, believing that in a sea of intelligent minds, the only way to stand out was to be the fastest. His strategy was speed, and his tactics were shortcuts. While his colleagues dove into deep research, Marvin would skim documents superficially. While they drafted each contract with craftsman-like care, he used ready-made templates, adapting them in a hurry. He didn't see this as negligence. He saw it as efficiency, the secret to delivering the work before everyone else. The problem with shortcuts is that they work until the day they lead you to a cliff. Marvin's cliff came in the form of a single clause in a contract he prepared in record time. A poorly drafted clause which he hadn't carefully adapted in his haste, and which ended up causing a large and expensive problem for an important client. The mistake, born from speed, generated weeks of extra work and a deep embarrassment for the firm. Marvin's race had ended in a collision. The summons came the next morning. In a short and cold email, Marvin was to report to the office of Mr. Bauer, the most respected and feared senior partner in the firm. He walked down the long mahogany hallway, feeling each step as if he were on his way to his own execution. He entered the office expecting a severe reprimand, perhaps even his dismissal. But when he walked in, the fury he expected wasn't there. Mr. Bauer was calmly looking out the window. He didn't mention the contract. He didn't talk about the mistake. Instead, with an almost surgical calm, he gave an analysis of Marvin's method, pointing out the pattern of haste and the obsession with deadlines over depth in his recent work. Marvin expected an argument about laws, about the client's damages. But after his diagnosis, Mr. Bauer leaned back in his chair, looked at Marvin, and asked the most unexpected question possible. "Tell me, Marvin," he said, his voice calm. "Have you ever climbed a mountain?" The question hung in the air, disarming all the defenses Marvin had prepared. Miss Bauer, seeing Marvin's confusion, continued, painting a picture with words. "Imagine we are at the foot of a mountain, and there are two trails to the top. One is a steep, direct shortcut, but it's full of loose rocks and dangerous. The other is a longer path, which goes around the mountain, but it's well paved and safe. The young and impatient," he said, "always take the shortcut. They run, they slip, they get hurt, and often they have to go back to the beginning. The wise, even when they are in a hurry, take the longer path. They walk at a steady, safe pace, and they reach the top, whole and ultimately faster. In Japanese, there is a word for this: Isogaba Maware. It means, if you're in a hurry, go around. The metaphor hit Marvin with the force of a revelation. The image was so clear, so precise, that he felt a chill. His career, up to that moment, had been a frantic attempt to climb the steep shortcut, skipping steps, taking unnecessary risks in the name of speed. He was the impatient young man on the trail, and the mistake in the contract. It wasn't an accident, it was a fall. The inevitable fall that forced him to stop and look at the path he had chosen. Mr. Bauer gave Marvin a chance at redemption, a new case, equally complex, and Marvin, for the first time, chose the longer path. This time, there was no hurry. He read every document, not once, but twice. He dove into deep research that he would have previously ignored. Each clause was refined with the care of a craftsman, not the urgency of a sprinter, and it was in this slow, careful work, in a footnote of an old case, that he found it. An obscure legal precedent, a tiny detail that all the other lawyers, in their haste, had missed. It was the key, the piece, that transformed a difficult case into a spectacular victory. Marvin submitted his work, not ahead of the deadline, but exactly on the deadline, and what he presented was flawless, irrefutable. The victory he secured for the client was far more significant than any deadline he had ever beaten in the past. He earned the respect of Mr. Bauer and his colleagues, not for his speed, but for his soundness. He had learned the difference between movement and direction. Then soared Marvin's journey from the steep shortcut to the safe path, teaches us a fundamental lesson about the true nature of progress. In important tasks, haste is not just a risk, it is an illusion. Then soared true speed, the kind that leads us to the destination of excellence, comes from the meticulousness that avoids the mistakes that force us to go back and start over. His story is an invitation to look at our own lives and ask, hit us. What shortcut are we taking in our work or personal lives, believing we are saving time? And what would be the longer, more deliberate path that, while seeming slower now, would lead us to a far superior result in the end? If this lesson about the wisdom of slowing down to go faster resonated with you, leave a comment below, like and share this video so this message can find others who are running on the wrong trail. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that teach us to navigate our journey with more wisdom. Until next time, ignore the shortcuts and trust the path.